Hi all and welcome to my channel. Crafty Kaz here. Today we're going to be making this beautiful Christmas pudding ornament, and I'm also going to show you two different sizes as well. Oops, stay tuned. And for this project I'm going to be using James C. Brett Twisted Fashion yarn, and it's a lovely motley brown colour and the shade is T4. I've been very organised and I've caked up my yarn ready to go. It doesn't half make it so much easier to do my projects with it caked. It just feeds out of the centre. It's fabulous. So to start our project we're going to cast on as normal. A little bit of a tail, back and forth or over and under, whichever phrase you prefer, all the way around the bed of the machine. Into the yarn feeder there, 0 hour clock. And for this particular pudding on an Addy 46 I'm going to be doing 70 rows, so off we go. I'll finish this now and I'll come back when my 70 rows are done and we'll move on to the next step. I just thought I'd pop on now as I'm on row 53 and show you that I'm using a small 4-volt like a drill screwdriver attachment on my machine at the moment. It makes cranking a little easier on my shoulder. It is rather noisy and this little attachment doesn't crank the machine any faster than I can crank a machine anyway, so it's within its tolerance limits. I've got one of those little attachments. Don't use it all the time. For straight knitting like this though, it is a bit of a bonus for me. Row 60 now, so only 10 rows to go. So we'll do those 10 rows together and you can see how quickly it goes. It's not a recommendation, by the way. I'm not advertising this product. I'll show you at the end which one I'm using now. It's just to show you what I find useful from time to time. I don't always use it. But for this little project, and for doing the straight parts on a beanie, your 80 rows on a beanie, it's very useful indeed. Now 66, 67, coming up to row 70 and then we'll cast off. 68, and you can see how nice and quick it is. Just coming up now to row 70. There we go, row 70. Awesome. I'll show you my little attachment now, and that's what I'm using. Okay, it's a little plastic attachment. It does occasionally shed, okay, but it's lasted pretty well actually. I bought it online. I can't remember where from now. It's got a little attachment on it which I had to get separately, that little metal piece there. And the little drill is a Ferrex one, which I believe I picked up in an Aldi store. I think it was about £12, I think. And I'm not quite sure if it's a rechargeable one, 4 volts or 4.5 volts, something like that. You don't want to go any bigger than that. Alright, so that's the one I'm using. Again, it's not an advertisement, just showing you in case you're wondering what I'm using. So now we'll cast off our 70 rows and we will form our pudding. My tail has been trimmed and I have it on a darning needle, and off we go, casting off. I start off with 1 stitch at a time. And then when I get a bit of slack on my project, then I can start taking off a few more. And voila, our pudding is off the machine. Great stuff. I love this yarn. It is so pretty. It's so textured. Really, really nice. I don't even remember where I had it from, but it's absolutely beautiful. And for the topping on my Christmas pudding, I'm going to be using this James C. Brett Bubblicious yarn in a DK weight. And it's really kind of knobbly. So let's see how that goes. Cast on as normal. See my clock. And for the topping we're going to be doing 40 rows. And now I've completed my 40 rows in this fabulous fuzzy bubblicious yarn. Wow, that's a mouthful. I'm going to cast off as I normally do, and as we all normally do. I always start one stitch at a time, and this stuff is a little bit claggy, so we've got to take our time with this one. And then I do a couple of stitches and I work up to 3, 4, 5 and however many I feel brave enough to do in one go. And there's our work off the machine, and I'm going to be using the purl side on this because I like the horizontal lines that purl has, and I think that adds more to an icing look for our Christmas pudding ornament.
A quick pattern recap. What you're going to need is 70 rows for the body, 40 rows for the icing, 15 rows for the leaves, 2 of those, and 8 rows for your berry, which I did in an Aran.
Not forgetting you're going to need a wodge of lovely fuzzy wuzzy stuffing. So to form the body of our lovely Christmas pud, we're going to stretch out our yarn as we would normally. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful knit fabric? Absolutely love that yarn. And we're going to double it up as we would, exactly as if we were going to be making a beanie, and cinch the top end of it. And all intents and purposes you're going to end up at this point with a small beanie. So I'm going to pull the inside one in, folding out all those little gathers that form, making them as even as I possibly can. Watch you don't pull too tight and snap that yarn, that's happened to me before. So you're going to do that, and then we're going to pull the other one up and grab the tail on that one and gather that one up. Again, evening out all those gathers, making sure that everything is pointing in the right direction, not gathering up in a bunchy way. Pull those 2 yarns together and we can end up with rather a long tail. So I'm going to snip that tail, and I'm going to keep that length of yarn for the next stage. Pulling these together now, and I'm going to add a few knots to secure that. And I like to add a double, which means wrap it around once, wrap it around twice, and pull it tight. So now stretch out and hide your tails on the opposite side of your work, or turn it inside out, whichever suits. I've got 2 15mm black safety eyes there, and that's what I'm going to be using for the eyes on my Christmas pudding. So we're going to be placing them approximately 3 inches up and 3 inches apart. So we're just going to place one anywhere at the moment. So we just pop one there, pop him through like that, and the other one approximately 3 inches up from the bottom, and hopefully we'll get them level. So that's about 3 and about 3 inches apart. We're going to go 3 inches apart from, say, the center of the eyeball, so we're going to go about there. But you place them wherever you want. If you want them closer together or further apart, that's entirely up to you. This is just a guideline. They're looking about right to me. That's about 2.5 up, and that's about 2.5 up. So I got a little bit awry there. So 2.5 up and approximately, yeah, 3 inches apart from center to center. But like I said, you pop them anywhere you want to pop them that suits you for your project. I'm just going to pop the holders on the back now. There we are, that's nicely popped in there. usually take a little bit of pressure to get them all the way down the bottom of the stem so they're not too proud. There we go, that's about right. Now the tail that I chopped off, the longest end, I'm going to pop that onto a darning needle and we're going to use that in a second. So get our stuffing ready now and we're ready to stuff our Christmas pudding. But we're going to put a drawstring around the bottom first and just pick the bottom end, and I like to go, start anywhere you like, doesn't really matter, over 2 and under 2. But it's not really that important as long as you've got a running stitch along the bottom edge there. So that's under 2, and I go over 2, under 2 and over 2. And it's quite difficult to see where the stitches are with this yarn, I have to be honest about that, so I'm kind of just winging it. And excuse my fingers, I've been cleaning out the wood burner, and it's not always easy to get the marks of the soot off your fingers and your nails. I wish I could have nice nails and pretty hands, but with everything I end up doing in a day, there's no chance of that. But they're clean, that's the main thing. Back to the beginning, and the fun bit then is stuffing our pudding. However full you want to stuff your pudding, that is up to you. I'm not going to overstuff mine, just so he's a nice little plump pudding. There we are, pull that through there now. Excellent, you can take that off. So we've got 2 little drawstrings there now. Okay, so grab your stuffing and pop it in. Push it out from the middle, like that, to the sides, so you get a nice even plumpy round pudding, and then pop some in the middle. Now I think that'll probably be about right, but we can always pull the strings and then do a little bit of a tester. Squash him down a little bit. That's about right. I kind of like that little pudding shape there. I kind of like his eyes there. They're sitting quite nicely. We could add just a little bit more stuffing maybe. Go on, let's go for it. Let's put a little bit more stuffing in there. Let's make him a really, really puddingy pudding. There we go. And all you need to do now is to pull that in, cinch it, add a few knots, and tie it off. And I'll pop this back on the darning needle for a sec, and cinch and add a few knots. Leave my darning needle on, tie that tight, and if there's a little hole left, don't worry too much, you can tighten that together with a few stitches at the end. Tie that off now. There we go, like that, and then add a few stitches to finish that off. And we move on to the next stage then, and we're dealing with the icing part. There we are, a few stitches in there, pulls that in. And then we can hide our tails inside the work, and we'll call that done. And as we're putting icing on there anyway, any little anomalies in our stitches will be hidden. Hide the tails. Do the same with the other one. And that's our Christmas pud body mostly done. Now we're going to move on to the icing, and I've decided to use the pearl side of it because one I've already made here, okay, and I'll show you and give you the sizes for this one. It's made on the 22 pin. Okay, I let the stitches run as they normally do. And when I saw the pearl, I thought, oh, it's a little bit more ripply like icing is, so I've decided to go with pearl on the larger one. But the choice is yours, which side you prefer to use for yours. That's the ordinary knitted side, that's the pearl side.
Cinch both ends closed, and then bring the both closed cinched areas together, and that will form a disc shape, which we will use as the icing on top of our Christmas pudding ornament.
Like that. And the same the other side. And then we can feed the one yarn through the other and fasten it off, and then we end up with a flat circle, which is going to be our icing. So I'll put a few stitches in there now, and then that piece will be done. And I've left my yarn tail on there, and what I'm going to do is put it on a darning needle, and I'm going to thread it through the layers and to the outside edge, so I can use it for stitching on. Okay, so that is now on the outside edge of our work. Okay, pop it on the top of our Christmas pud, like a little hat like that. Now we don't want to leave it all straight, that's really boring, alright? So what we're going to do is, with a few pins, we are going to shape our Christmas pudding, alright? We are going to pull it down in places like that, so it's like dripping icing, and leave it up there like that, and then pull it back down and leave it up, all ad hoc, nothing, you know, too regimented. Just do it as you feel you like it. I'll get some pins now, pin it all, and I'll show you before I stitch it all together. I want a jaunty little piece coming there, so I'm going to pop a pin in there like that, and then I'm going to have it rising up a tad, and we can alter this as much or as little as we want as we go around. So we're just going to do a provisional setting of the icing and let it run down the side of his face there, pin that in place, rise up a little bit. So make it as ad hoc as you want, like a Christmas pudding would be. And the beauty of this yarn, it really is quite stretchy, so I'm getting quite a lot of stretch in my Christmas pudding here. So like I said, however you fancy doing your edge of your icing, I pop it down a little bit like that. And once you're happy with it, just stitch it into place. I'm just going to do a little running stitch around the edge, securing it into place, and that'll be fine and dandy. And the pins help everything sit in place, and that's sitting nice and flat on the top there. So you do the same with yours, and if you're using a Aran based yarn or a DK yarn, if you decide to do it in DK, you might need to be a little bit more careful with your stitches than I am here, because I'm using a fuzzy yarn which kind of hides a little bit of the impact of the stitch on the line there. Okay, so you can do that, and I will carry on now, and I'll see you at the end. Push my needle through now because I finished sewing around. Pop that off. It's looking great. I could have pulled it down a little bit more like that. I'm trying to do it in a rush, but there we go. He's still kind of cute. So let's move on to preparing the leaves now for our Christmas pudding. And you may have seen earlier in the video that I actually had these prepared, these darker green leaves, and to be honest I thought about it and they were a little bit too dark and a little bit too wide for the project, so I changed it. Okay, so you will see in the description that I've gone to 15 rows of knitting there. Okay, so I cast on 15 rows, cast off with waste yarn, and what we are going to do is we're going to seal the end of the tube. Now you may have your own way of sealing your tube off, in which case go with that one by all means. I'm going to hold my two tails there on the far left, pull over to the right, and by a little bit of wiggly jiggly I'm going to end up with 2 stitches side by side, and I'm going to grab one and grab the other one, and I'm going to pull through like that. So that's 2 stitches, and then I'm going to count to make sure that I get my 22 stitches. So that's 3, 4, and so on, zigzagging all the way down, 5, until I get to the bottom. My final stitch there, and then I'll pull through my tail to secure that, and we just pull off the waste yarn then. And because we've cast off with waste yarn, it's always so much easier to remove than a cast on edge, unless it gets tangled in your tail. There we go, there's our end all sealed off. What we need to do now is to hide our tail. We're just going to pop that tail in there like that. So we don't need that one. You can snip that off a little bit. And then we're going to cinch the other end. So just cinch the other end all the way in. And as you would with a beanie, what we're going to do, just put a few stitches in it to close it off. Make sure it's all secure, so pull it tight. A couple of stitches and leave the tail on. You're going to need the tail shortly. Just a few stitches like that. Now it doesn't look much like a leaf at the moment, okay, but I can assure you with a little bit of wiggling and jiggling we're going to end up with a leaf that looks like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is turn your leaf like that, and then get your little pointy end and just wiggle, 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 and there you have your pretty leaf. And what you end up with is your cinched area at the back, like that. Okay, and you even get a little bit of a curl on it, which is ever so cute. And if it is bulging a little bit, just pop a stitch from the front to the back, just to hold that in place there. Just a tiny, tiny little stitch that won't be seen from the front, and that'll hold that flatter for you. And then what I'm going to do is going to feed my tail through the back there and out on one of the ends, and I'm going to use that then for fastening that to the top of my pudding. So there's our 2 leaves. I prefer those much better than these rather bulky ones, which are still nice, but because they're larger they look better from the side without the line on. But and they're 20 rows in case you wanted a bigger leaf. Those are again on the 22 pin, but just 20 rows and formed in exactly the same way. So now we need to attach our leaves to the top of our Christmas pudding, and I'm going to pop mine both on the one side, I think, like that kind of design, and then I'm going to pop my berry there, but you could put your leaves either side like that if you wanted to, so you'd have that kind of look. That's entirely up to you. So I'm going to pop mine so it's kind of at a jaunty little angle, and I'm just going to put a few stitches in the top there. So you put as many stitches in as you feel you need for your project. I'm just going to fasten it there and dig down into the stuffing a little bit to get a good anchor, and a few little stitches, catching the underneath of the leaf, not the top, and that'll be more than enough. I think I'm just going to pop around to the other side, put a few stitches on there, just catching the underside of the leaf so we don't see any stitches on the top side of the leaf. A few little stitches like that, again on the underside there. And that should be adequate. If you want to use hot glue, by all means use some hot glue. I'm always a bit messy with the stuff and I end up spoiling my the look of my project, so I'm not a great user of hot glue. But if you are a hot glue guru, then you carry on and use your hot glue. It's just going to hide my tail inside there now, and we'll attach the other leaf, and we're nearly done with this little project then. And then I can run you through the sizes for the smaller ones that I've made as well. And this pattern comes in 3 sizes. So this little one, I'm going to pop this one now there like that, so it's that kind of shape. Again, I'm going to fasten it somewhere towards the middle there, trying to catch a little bit of stuffing so we get a really good anchor. Stitch it around, or glue it like we've already chatted about. Go, pop that under there. And like I always say, you can be a little bit more careful than I'm being at the moment. I'm not taking as much care as I would if I was not trying to video at the same time. So that will be ample for now, more than adequate for now. And like I said, I chose the other leaves at first, and I was thinking about them, and I thought they're not a pretty enough green. I love an olive green myself, love the colour, but for this project it was a little bit too dull. So we've changed that up a little bit. So a little knot, because our berry's going to go there soon, and hide our tail. And our little leaves are attached to the top of our Christmas pud. And this is going to be absolutely gorgeous on a mantelpiece or a shelf come Christmas. Absolutely beautiful. And you can angle your little leaves up like that, so you get a little jaunty, sticky uppy leaf, which is cute. Now we're going to grab our little berry, which was done on the 22 pin. And I did 8 rows for that in a sparkly little piece of sparkly iron I had hanging around. If you're going to use a lighter DK, you may very well want to do 16 rounds and make it like we made the body of the beanie, because sometimes the stuffing can show through if you use a thinner yarn. So we're going to pop our berry now on the top there like that. So again, just a few stitches to hold it in place. And again, by all means, hot glue your berry on if that's the way you'd prefer to attach it. I'm just going to go around like that now, catching the underside of the berry there like that, and then back into the body of the pudding, all the way around, or use a blob of hot glue if you prefer, by all means. I do love the green of these leaves, it's so vibrant, so festive. Squidge our little berry like that, coming up back to where we started from. tighten our little berry. I'm going to put a knot with the other tail, and I'm going to hide the tails inside the body of the work then, and then I'll show you how I did the mouth. Now the video clip you're going to see of me doing the mouth is going to show the other leaves, because I did construct the pudding with the other colour leaves and I didn't like it, so I'm backtracking a little bit here, but I think you'll agree that that green is so much more vibrant and pretty than that darker green. But if you prefer the darker green, you go for that. But I love this beautiful limey appley green, absolutely beautiful. So there's our Christmas pud. We'll move on now and I'll show you how I did the smile. So I've got a length of beige yarn on my darning needle. It's Patterns Pure Wool, which has been in my stash forever and a day. I'm going to roughly mark halfway in between my eyeballs, which is kind of there, and I'm going to come in from the side. Let's get 2 little markers here to give me a rough idea of where I want my mouth to be, and these will help position our mouth. Or maybe one down there like that, maybe a little less steep. There we go, we'll try that. We'll come in from the left hand side, come up where the blue needle is on the left there, thereabouts anyway, pull that through, take that needle out, leave a tail on the one side because we'll be tying off with that shortly, go down to the bottom blue needle and up through your right hand marker, or thereabouts. You can pull those out now and hope for the best, and then bring your smile back in where you went there and back out where you started from, and hopefully we'll have a nice smile on our Christmas pud. And there we are. All we have to do now is to tie these off here. So tie them with a double knot, nice and simple, like that, and we can hide the tails inside our work and no one would know that knot was there. So we hide one side and we hide the other side. Trim them both off. And we can alter our little smile and take out our marker. And there's the smile on our Christmas pudding. Isn't that so pretty? And like I said, I've done another size. This was done on the 22 pin. And that's cute as well. And in a minute I'll show you a tiny little one that you can hang on your Christmas tree. And here are our 3 Christmas puddings all finished and done. I hope you love this pattern as much as I do. This is the large one that we've just run through and done together. This is the one done on a 22 pin. And to give you the sizes for that one is 50 for the body, 30 for the icing. And I did 8 on the 22 pin for the leaf, just 8 rows, made exactly the same as the other one, but it's just 8 rows on that one. And the berry was just 6 rows, okay, for that one. And the mini one, the one that you can hang on your Christmas tree, because I've added a little bit of a bauble hanger there, okay, that one, and some googly eyes. That one is super tiny, it's crikey really small. I'll get a ruler in a minute so I can measure it for you. But that one is 30 rows for the brown of the body, just 30 rows, okay. and the white for the icing is just 18 rows. It was too small to make the leaves on the machine, so I've had to cut them out of some green felt there, okay, and they're just some pony beads that I've glued with my hot glue gun, and I've added a little string by threading it from the bottom. You can see a little bit of red there. Threaded it, tied it off at the bottom, and there's your little hanger. Okay, so that's your 3 sizes of Christmas pudding ornament. I hope you like this video. Please, if you do, can you give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Your support on my channel means the world to me and helps me bring you more free patterns to enjoy. If you feel you can give a donation to a local no-kill animal shelter in lieu of a pattern price, that would be so much appreciated and very, very kind of you. And that's all that I ask, is that you enjoy the patterns, tag me when you make them and post them on social media. Kaz Harris on Facebook and Crafty Kaz 33 on Instagram. And I will look forward to seeing your creations very, very soon. Let's run through the dimensions of these for you now. Starting with Itty Bitty. He's tiny, he's about 3 inches, okay, so he's about a 3-inch little ornament there, okay, about 3 by 3. The big one is approximately 7.5 by 7, because that's the width of an Addy bed, and the medium one, and the medium one's about 4 inches. He's about a 4-inch Christmas pud. So we go in from 3 to 4 to approximately 7 inches in size, and I love them. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really enjoy your company. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you very soon with another pattern. Bye for now.